Hello friends, this is Sam Chaney reporting for WeaponizedNews.com. Today is October 1st, 2016. And last week we saw Congress override President Barack Hussein Obama's veto that would allow September 11th families and victims of the September 11th terrorist attacks to sue Saudi Arabia. So now this report out of Zero Hedge. September 11th widow is first American to sue Saudi Arabia for terrorism. Her full lawsuit. Let's take a look at this report now. Very important. We all know that 9/11 was a staged false flag terrorist attack perpetrated by the deep state, shadow elements, criminal elements of intelligence agencies of the United States, of Israel, of Saudi Arabia, and others. Now maybe the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act can get some justice for the victims' families of 9/11. Let's get to this report. 2 days ago, after the stunning congressional override of Obama's veto of the JUSTA Act, aka September 11th bill, we wondered how long until the first lawsuit by a September 11th victim naming Saudi Arabia as a defendant would emerge. Well, we didn't have to wait long. On Friday, September 30th, 2016, a woman widowed when her husband was killed at the Pentagon on September 11th, 2001, became the first American to sue the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in Washington, D.C. District Court just 2 days after Congress slammed Obama for siding with Saudi Arabia, overriding his presidential veto only for the first time in his administration, and enacting legislation allowing Americans to sue foreign governments for allegedly playing a role in terrorist attacks on U.S. soil. Stephanie Ross DeSimone alleged the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia provided material support to Al-Qaeda and its leader Osama bin Laden. Her suit is also filed on behalf of the couple's daughter. DeSimone was 2 months pregnant when her husband, Navy Commander Patrick Dunn, was killed. She is suing for wrongful death and intentional infliction of emotional distress and is seeking unspecified compensatory and punitive damages. In the lawsuit, she alleges that at all material times, Saudi Arabia, through its officials, officers, agents, and employees, provided material support and resources to Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. The support provided by Saudi Arabia to bin Laden and Al-Qaeda assisted in or contributed to the preparation and execution of the September 11th attacks and the extrajudicial killing of Patrick Dunn. She adds that Al-Qaeda was funded to the tune of approximately $30 million per year by divisions of money from Islamic charities, and explains Al-Qaeda's development into a global terrorist network was funded primarily by the money and other material support it received from the kingdom and purported charities acting as agents and alter egos of the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, many of which worked with the Al-Qaeda leadership during the Afghan Jihad. These governmental agents served as the primary conduits for channeling financial, logistical, operational, and ideological support for Al-Qaeda's global jihad for more than 20 years. Recap of the September 11th terrorist attacks. 15 of the 19 men who hijacked airliners used in the attack were Saudi nationals. One jet struck the Pentagon, seat of the U.S. military. Two destroyed the World Trade Center's Twin Towers in New York City. while another crashed in a Pennsylvania field as its passengers fought back against the hijackers. While a U.S. commission that investigated the 2001 attack said in a 2004 report that it found no evidence that the Saudi government as an institution or senior officials within the Saudi government funded Al-Qaeda. This will be the first time that the U.S. court will be forced to rule in Saudi Arabia if Saudi Arabia was indeed responsible. The kingdom has previously denied culpability. Its embassy didn't immediately reply to an emailed message seeking comment on the suit. An official at Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs told the state-run Saudi press agency on September 29th that the U.S. Congress must correct the 9/11 bill to avoid serious unintended consequences, adding the law is of great concern to the kingdom. What may some of those unintended consequences be, implicating the U.S. government and other foreign intelligence agencies, the deep state? Continuing. Well, thanks to this lawsuit, Saudi Arabia will now be able to prove its opinion in court. Here is what it will have to deny courtesy of DeSimone's lawsuit. Beyond the massive financial sponsorship of Al-Qaeda's global jihad, the Saudi government, through its agents, officials, and purported charities, has been intimately involved in all aspects of Al-Qaeda's operations, including raising and laundering funds on behalf of Islamic terrorist organizations and associated separatist movements, including Al-Qaeda, channeling funds to Islamic terrorist organizations, fighters, and associated separatist movements, including Al-Qaeda, providing financial and logistical support and physical assets to Islamic fighters and terrorists, including Al-Qaeda, aiding and abetting Al-Qaeda terrorist activities, including the planned coordination, funding, and execution of terrorist attacks, permitting Islamic fighters and terrorists, including Al-Qaeda members, to use ostensible employment with their organizations as a vehicle for gaining access to conflict regions, thereby allowing those individuals to carry out militant and terrorist activities in those areas, serving as liaisons to localized terrorist organizations on behalf of Al-Qaeda, thereby assisting Al-Qaeda in expanding its operational base and sphere of influence, funding and facilitating shipments of arms and supplies to Islamic terrorist organizations and associated separatist movements, including Al-Qaeda, funding camps used by Al-Qaeda and associated jihadist organizations to train soldiers and terrorists, including camps used to train the September 11th hijackers, actively recruiting new members for Islamic terrorist organizations and associated separatist movements, including Al-Qaeda, working throughout the world to spread Al-Qaeda's jihadist ideology and draw new adherents into its cause, serving as channels for distributing information and documentation within Islamic terrorist organizations and associated separatist movements, including Al-Qaeda, and from Islamic terrorist organizations and separatist movements in the media, disseminating publications designed to advance Al-Qaeda's radical Islamic ideology throughout the Muslim world and legitimize violent jihadists against Christians, Jews, on the grounds that they are infidels who do not deserve to live, and finally, openly advocating for Muslims to take up arms against Western and democratic societies, including the United States. The full 54-page lawsuit laying out the plaintiff's entire cause is presented below. And now that the first lawsuit has been filed, we expect a deluge of similar lawsuits. It remains unclear if, now that it is about to be dragged into countless U.S. courts. Saudi Arabia will execute on its own its threat from 6 months ago to proceed to sell billions in treasuries and other U.S. assets. Wow, that's a mouthful, a lot of accusations. It's going to court. Let's hope that this victim can open up the floodgates, Simone, and we can sue Saudi Arabia and other governments involved in the September 11th false flag terrorist attacks. If you want to do more research about this, the link will be in the description below this video. Do your own research about false flag terrorist attacks, about why September 11th was an inside job, and pray for the victims and families of the September 11th terrorist attacks, and pray for peace. Subscribe to this channel, speak out, and take action.